Commission for October. I will turn it over to Marco for the administrative explanations.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Marco Ribeiro. I am the Park and Recreation Commission Staff Liaison. Welcome to the October 28th PRC meeting. As you are aware, this meeting is being recorded for our public records and will be posted on the Arlington County Commission Meetings YouTube page. And please avoid sharing any personal information that you would not like to be made public. We ask that presenters and attendees please mute your microphones if you're not speaking. During virtual only or hybrid meetings, commissioners joining virtually and who are eligible to vote must have their cameras on for the duration of the meeting for purposes of the meeting. For those attending via telephone, you can mute and unmute your microphones by dialing *6. The chat box will be monitored to address any technical or procedural questions during the meeting, but should not be used for meeting discussion. Commissioners should use the raise your hand function on the top toolbar to be recognized during the commission discussion, and aside presenters may share their screens using the share content box above. As way of information, we'll be holding a public comment period. In order to be recognized, please use the raise your hand function if you're joining virtually, and each public commenter will have up to 3 minutes for public comment. Staff will signal to the speaker once time is up. During the public comment period and during the agenda item discussions amongst the PRC, the chair will recognize virtual participation first, and then in-person attendees will be able to comment. Thank you very much, and I will turn it back over to our chair.
Thank you, Marco. And we do have a public commenter in person this evening. I know her first name is Jean. I don't want to butcher her last name, so I'll ask her to identify herself first.
The minutes first.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Public minutes. Sorry. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I think there's a quick amendment needs to be made.
Okay.
I'm looking at the under business. It talks about the invasive species plant control. It talks about whether we use funds from the capital fund for it. I think given that ARL now reported on the conversation and talked about the disagreement, I think we'd be remiss not to just include that. There was discussion and debate over whether capital funds would be a way to fund such a proposed invasive species removal program. So I think we should add some line regarding that. And then otherwise, I think the meeting minutes are fine.
Any discussion on the proposed amendment?
Well, just it does. There is on that section on page 4, the second full bullet.
Second full bullet
In the middle, it says, where would the funding be located? Capital improvement, yearly operations, etc. Question mark. Is that?
I thought that was it. Okay.
Close enough.
That's close enough. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
You move it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a second from Melissa. Is there any further discussion?
Unless David has another point. Yeah.
Just one more. Alex is both absent and present.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hermione Granger. Yes. Okay. So right now, do we have to? I think we agree on the proposed amendment to make Andrew present. Is there any other discussion? All right. So right now we're voting on the minutes as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The minutes are passed. All right. And now it's time to introduce Jean about the Lee Center. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Hi, my name is Jean Hensroth, and I am president of the Leeway Overlea Civic Association. I'm also a vice president of CityFed, and I am chair of the Langston Boulevard Alliance Community Centers Committee. I'm here tonight representing Leeway Overlea, not those other two organizations. And as some of you are aware, the county has been considering what to do with what used to be the Lee Community Center and then LAC Studios for several years. They commissioned a study last year by an architectural firm. The study was released in September, and I'm just going to review it. I ask all of you to look at it because eventually it will impact park issues because there is a 2-acre park at the site. But for right now, I ask that you look at the study. If you go on the county website and type in Lee Center study, it will come up. There are 3 sections. And this is, well, so now this is how the site looks now. On the left is Langston Boulevard. The original building was Robert E. Lee Elementary School. It was built 100 years ago. In 1957, a wing was added to it, a multi-purpose room, cafeteria. There's outdoor basketball court. A dear friend of the park who recently passed created this pollinator garden. There's the ball fields, a softball backstop, and it is used all day long Saturday and during the week. And then there's playground, which I still try to call a jungle gym, but playground apparently is the proper term. And then parking. On the bottom of this, of the little schematic is Lexington Street, and there's a light at Lexington and Langston. You know, on the other side of Langston is District Taco and the original District Taco, and I think what's it, Big Mama's Barbecue to orient you. Kentucky Street on the other side of that is Rivendell School. It's a private Christian school. Those children have a memorandum of understanding with the county to allow, the school allows their children to use the park for their outdoor recess, just to give you a little bit of information. Lexington and Kentucky and then 24th on the right side are all very narrow streets. No parking on Lexington and Kentucky adjacent to the park or on 24th Street. 24th Street was originally an alley. So if we could go to the next slide, gives you a.
I just want to remind you, you get 3 minutes.
I know. So oh, actually, I was going to set my timer by. Okay, so this is, you can't read it, but I wanted to point it out. When you look at study, this is a really good detailed surveyor's map of the site. But across the bottom in the middle, those rows, those are list the trees on the site. There are 91 trees, and the surveyors identified 23 that need to be replaced. And I'm just going to say that's probably correct. There are some really beautiful. I'm out of time.
We're out of time. Yes.
Okay.
Can we give her one more
Sure.
sentence?
Okay.
There's one more. This is the
Go
most
to
salient.
the last slide, Mark. Go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so this is a slide that shows you different schematics. That's the aerial view of the building. The top 2 are basically what it looks like now. This 2A, 2B ideas would be great. All of the 3s include affordable housing on the site and taking up park space, a lot of park space. So it's the largest park along Langston Boulevard, 2 acres.
Thank you so much, Jean. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I can talk real slowly. Okay, so
Does anybody on the commission want to make?
I need to learn more about this. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to.
absolutely, and we'll be, Langston Boulevard Alliance will be in touch. They're doing the public engagement as a county.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay,
We really appreciate your.
thanks for your time.
And I believe that is the last public speaker.
Is there anybody else online that wants to come and speak? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Jean.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now we're coming to the meat of our meeting. Oh, and Carly's here. Hello, Carly. I'd like to introduce everybody to you. Carly is our newest commissioner. And I thought maybe as a way of breaking the ice, we might go, because since I know that at least 3 of us at this table have very extravagant plans for Halloween. Would anybody like to share what they're doing for Halloween? I'll go first. My dog is getting married.
Whoa.
Not that anymore.
I like Daniel there, yeah.
All right. It is
I asked the same
Wait,
question.
so it costumes and
It is?
not entirely. Who else?
But they
What's-
did meet on Halloween.
Yeah, it's their 10th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, I realize she's gonna kill me. She finds out. about it.
It's-
The whole county knows. Gary, what do you want to say?
Well, I have now a longstanding tradition of building a giant enclosed maze in my front yard for kids to go through. And I have hidden inside it all kinds of animatronics that are somewhat scary. So it's not for, really little kids. It's mostly, late elementary
45 and
school.
older.
Yeah, 45. Right. So what's your address again?
Yeah. Marco, I know you have plans.
Yeah, so my son Lucas chose our costumes this year, back in the summer, because that's how we do things in our house. So we're gonna dress up as his favorite fast food items. So I will be fries, he will be chicken nuggets, and his mother will be pizza. And we'll be going around our neighborhood and hopefully getting as much candy as we can. So we'll see.
Making people very hungry.
There you go, yes.
Anybody else?
Short of cracking open an Argentinian Malbec on that Friday, I really don't have any other plans. I envy the rest of you, so.
I just had to walk around and see the decorations all lit up. Very exciting.
I was trying to figure out how to dress up as the East Wing, but I couldn't quite figure it out.
All right, well, welcome, Carly. We're glad you're here. Thanks for being here. All right, the next item on the agenda is Rich Dooley is going to talk to us about potential prohibition of gas-powered leaf blowers.
Excellent. All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for the invitation for me to come present on this topic. For a bit of background on me, I started with the county as of next week. It'll be 20 years. I started at CPHD. That's where I had the opportunity to meet Marco back in the day. And then in 2010, I jumped over to the Department of Environmental Services and managed a project called the Community Energy Plan. And I've been doing that for 14 years thereafter. And then last summer, I jumped at the opportunity to become the Director of Climate Policy for the county, and now in the Climate Policy Office working with Jennifer Fioretti, who's the Assistant County Manager for Climate Policy. So we have a wonderful time dealing with climate issues there. And by way of Jennifer's work, while she was with Department of Parks and Recreation in leading the county's effort to internally transition over to electric leaf blowers, the county manager said, hey, you have all this experience. Why don't you go ahead and help us do the engagement piece to go ahead and do this analysis? And so that's how our office is wrapped up into this entire effort. So tonight we will be talking about this, and without further ado, I will launch into the rest of the presentation. We'll cover four main areas in the presentation. First, background on how we got to this point, an overview of how leaf blowers are currently regulated via the noise ordinance. Secondly, we'll look at the potential policy change to prohibit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Thirdly, there's the potential policy considerations we need to explore as a community, including impacts on residents, small businesses, landscaping professionals, and lastly, other opportunities to get engaged, and we'll present the timeline for that engagement. So over the past several years, we've seen an increase in public interest in exploring the prohibition on the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Many of the people we've heard from cited concerns with the excessive noise generated by leaf blowers impacting their quality of life. They also share concerns about the impact the equipment has on the environment, particularly the impact to the air quality, wildlife, soil, and waterways. We also heard folks express concerns about the impact to health and safety, particularly for operators who inhale the harmful pollutants emitted from two-stroke engines, which are linked to cardiovascular disease, cognitive impairment, and respiratory issues. So in response, in September of this year, county kicked off a public engagement effort to gather input and feedback from Arlington residents and businesses to better understand the feelings on the topic of potentially prohibiting the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Our goal is to reach a variety of voices from throughout the community on the subject to better inform the decision-making process. As I'm sure you've seen in the news, we aren't the only community engaged in this conversation. According to the U.S. PIRG Education Fund, there's over 100 localities nationwide that have already made the transition to electric leaf blowers. Within this region, DC prohibited gas-powered leaf blowers in 2022, followed by Montgomery County up in Maryland. That went into effect this past July, and then Alexandria City, just to our south, recently amended its noise ordinance, and that will be going into effect full scale in November of next year. So within Arlington County government, as I mentioned, sort of the preamble, in accordance with our climate and environmental goals, we transition all non-emergency handheld landscaping equipment, such as blowers and trimmers, from gas to electric in 2025. This transition involved both our Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of Environmental Services, who are responsible for maintaining the parks and rights of way. We also have mowing and landscape contracts to support our maintenance efforts. Those will be updated to require electric leaf blowers as they come up for bid in the next year or so.
You want questions as we go, and you want us at the end?
How about the end?
Okay.
That would be, yeah, my experience, it'll flow faster for it, allowing for Q&A. So before we discuss the potential policy changes, I first wanted to provide a quick overview of the section of the Arlington County Code that does regulate motorized leaf blowing devices. That section of the code is located in Chapter 15 of our noise ordinance, which currently restricts the private use of leaf blowers in any residential zoning district during nighttime. Now, nighttime means those times of day not included in the definition of daytime. And daytime is defined as local time of day between hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. on weekdays, and between the hours of 10 a.m. and 9 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and on legal holidays. There's a civil penalty of violation for violations of the noise ordinance in general, which may include a civil fine of not more than $250 for the first violation and not more than $500 for the second or other subsequent violations. I want to be clear that although I'm sharing the details of the noise ordinance as currently written, this should only be used for context only. So as part of this public engagement effort, the county is considering a potential year-round prohibition on the use of gas-powered leaf blower equipment to include handheld, backpack, and walk-behind leaf blowers on private property, Arlington schools property, and county government properties. This would require an amendment to County Code Chapter 15, as I mentioned before, and a phase-up period of up to 3 years is also being considered to allow time for residents and businesses to adjust to the change before enforcement begins in earnest. Now, as the county considers whether to prohibit the use of gas-powered leaf blowers, it is taking into account community feedback as well as a number of other potential policy considerations that are noted here. In terms of noise, many two-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers are extremely loud, 100 decibels plus, all the way up to 115 decibels in some of the extreme cases, which can be as loud as a car horn. What's captured in the decibel rating, however, is what is not captured in the decibel rating is the frequency. So the low frequency noise generated by the gas-powered leaf blowers can very much penetrate walls and buildings. Seems like the gas-powered leaf blowers sitting right next to you. And that is, again, due to the lower frequency pitch, 100 to 150 hertz of the gas-powered leaf blowers. In comparison, the electric leaf blowers are at a higher pitch, and because of that, the sound does not emanate as readily and become as distracting and impact people as you start going away from the leaf blower itself. For example, there was a study that noted that up to 90 surrounding homes can be impacted by, in a typical urban density, by a gas-powered leaf blower, and in comparison, only 6 homes with a powerful electric leaf blower. In terms of health, operators and residents are exposed to fine particulates and other carcinogenic toxins that may cause issues including heart and lung disease, asthma attacks, cognitive impairment, and cancer. In terms of emissions, those two-stroke engines have a significant and disproportionate impact on greenhouse gas emissions compared to their size and their usage. The two-stroke engine design used in most leaf blowers is very inefficient. So it's about 30% of the oil and gas mixture used in those machines goes uncombusted and just becomes particulates that get vaporized into the air. And so because of that, one of the things that, I've been out at a number of sites discussing this with people, and one of the factoids that we have from studies that we've uncovered in our research is that if you run a gas-powered leaf blower for an hour, the amount of emissions from that whole process is equivalent to driving a 2016 Camry from here to Miami. And it's because there's no catalytic converter and so forth on these machines and so forth. And again, the very inefficient way in which they use the fuel that they use. On to spills, the spills beyond air pollution, operators who keep a can of fuel and oil to refill their gas-powered leaf blowers may spill the toxic liquids onto the ground, impacting our soil and our waterways. This also impacts the plants and wildlife that depend on the resources. Onto economics, one of the things we need to consider is the small businesses and homeowners may face financial strain from upfront equipment costs when transitioning from gas-powered to electric leaf blowers. In terms of technology, electric leaf blowers may have battery limitations that affect business operations. The current supply of electric-powered devices may not meet demand if a prohibition is enacted immediately. In addition, switching to electric-powered leaf blowers may require adjustments to workflow and practices for both individuals as well as for businesses. Some electric models have shorter run times due to battery limitations, which could necessitate more frequent recharging or the purchase of additional batteries. Additionally, electric-powered leaf blowers may require changes in how the blower is used to maximize runtime. And last but not least, policy consideration in terms of the environment. Lithium-ion batteries commonly used in electric leaf blowers, if not properly certified, such as having a UL listing or certification, could pose environmental and safety risks, requiring proper disposal and recycling. Alternatively, electric leaf blowers can promote healthier soil and reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers. So although the public engagement will be led by our office, it is very much an interdepartmental effort where we are coordinating with DPR, as mentioned before, DES, our planners and CPHD, as well as our economic development department, just to name a few. Engagement began in September, will run through into our fall period. It includes a virtual community meeting this evening, an online feedback forum offered in English and Spanish, public demonstration of a variety of leaf blowing equipment, makes and models that we had not too long ago, in-person pop-ups, and direct communication with 40 lawn and garden companies that are registered in Arlington. Also, tomorrow night, if you want more of this, there's an informational webinar happening from 6:30 to 7:30. Happy to provide the link if you need, where we will hear from landscape companies that have already made the transition to electric leaf blowers, and hear a series of presentations from those representatives. And then we will have a series of presentations to commissions before we wrap up our engagement summary. Shown in a slightly different way here on this slide, there are different ways for the public to get engaged. We encourage you to please complete the feedback form if you've not already done so. The link is there. You can go to the County Maine website and just search under leaf blowers, and you should be able to bring up that page and the corresponding QR code in the form. The form will be closing tomorrow, so we look forward to having you do that, of course, after this meeting. That is the end of the formal presentation, and I'm happy if there's time allowed to answer any and all questions you might have on this topic. And once again, thank you very much for your attention and for the time to be before you tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I do want to say this is, I personally support this initiative. Back in 2018, when I was in university, I reached out to the university staff about that explicit issue, because when you're taking finals and you've got leaf blowers right outside your window, it's aggravating, to say nothing of the various climate and health impacts. The noise itself is just unbearable, but it was kind of subversive at the time, and it was admittedly very controversial. It was not ultimately adopted or even seriously considered. And the big change in the past 7 years since then is that the cost of those electric leaf blowers, their reliability, the cost has gone down and their reliability has improved dramatically, which has made this more economical. I mean, if we were to not do this, we would eventually become an island of jurisdictions not doing this. DC's already done it. MoCo in Maryland's done it. Alexandria is about to do it. Fairfax is thinking about it, but probably won't this year. So this is a good initiative because it's clearly something that's spreading, and we wouldn't be some first adopters. This is not some experimental technology that may ultimately not work. So I guess my only question is given that those costs are declining, what will the total cost of this transition be? What will the and you don't have to consider like the workflow changes, just what is the cost of switching out our existing fleet of gas leaf blowers for the electric ones?
Well, Arlington, thank you for the comments. And Arlington did lead by example as county government in transitioning from our gas powered equipment to electric. We did note that there would be an upfront cost in making that transition.
Oh, no, this is for private, not the public. Public's already done it, is what you're saying.
No, I'm offering up that the county, to answer your question, I'm saying we have experience in doing it internally.
Mhm.
And so we recognize there are some costs in making the change to this equipment. There's reduced costs in terms of maintenance.
Mhm.
You don't have to buy the fuel, and there's fewer moving parts and so forth. You don't have the engine, the two-stroke engine to deal with and to maintain. And so there's going to be a reduction in your maintenance costs. And so we fully recognize that as we go to the public, and whether it's residents or businesses alike, there's going to be an upfront cost in making that transition. And it all depends on how powerful, how high end you want your equipment and so forth. So it's really hard to pinpoint a dollar amount, but we do recognize that there will be that shift. And that's part of the reason why we're asking for your input on how much of a delay, if you will. If you do favor a prohibition on gas powered leaf blowers, should that be 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, that sort of thing? And where's that sweet spot? So that would allow for people to plan out in advance, budget, whether it's a personal budget or a business budget, try and figure out how they're going to go ahead and pay for this.
Awesome. I also strongly support this initiative. Today, even 5 feet outside my ground floor window, there was 2 guys with leaf blowers. I thought was kind of overkill. And I couldn't hear anything, as in I could not hear the blowing noises. So I support this. I am wondering, our neighbors have been doing this probably for a while, a little enough to get some data. Have we heard from companies or blowback from them or something that we can use to maybe mitigate when this happens for us?
Going into this, our office did do some research, benchmarking, reached out to a number of communities. Montgomery County included DC. We spoke with Quiet Clean, which is a nonprofit that advocates for these sorts of things and works around the country, working with communities such as ours to make this transition. And so we have gotten anecdotal and lessons learned from these other communities and incorporated that into the development of this. And we're going to couple that together with the feedback from the community in our analysis and put that all together in a package that we'll go ahead and present to the county board and to the county manager for consideration as we move through this process. So short answer is yes. As I mentioned in the presentation, up to 100 different locations throughout the US have gone this route already before us to the previous points made. And so we're following their footsteps, trying to take the best of the best practices and doing that for our community.
Gary?
Um,
And Hamilton.
You know roughly what the average phase-in time for the prohibition has been with these various jurisdictions that have implemented the ban?
From our research, it was, excuse me, on average of 1 to 2 years was the feeling that we were getting in talking with the jurisdictions as well as from Quiet Clean. But we do recognize that in these, we'll call it challenging economic times, that's the reason why the county board set sort of the upper limit at up to 3 years to allow for that to be considered. So we do recognize that it wasn't necessarily that long on average elsewhere, but we do think that we want to allow for that, given particularly some of the smaller businesses. And I will say, I've had the opportunity to talk one-on-one with some of the small businesses registered in Arlington to let them know that this is an initiative that we're considering and to get some of their feedback. And this may answer your question also. While they operate here in Arlington, they also operate in the region, and they have a client in DC. And so that has forced them to buy one electric leaf blower so as to do business in DC. So because DC has required that, they're already starting in that direction. However, in the same breath, they were very concerned about the logistics of multiplying that by 4 or 5 machines and the batteries and the chargers and so on and so forth. In their minds, it was becoming really, I don't want to say insurmountable, but very challenging. So we want to consider that for small businesses that may consist of up to 5 employees. How are they going to manage this? And it's something that we just have to consider as we move forward.
Hamilton?
So you mentioned the phase-in time, and the one question I had was, what are Montgomery and Alexandria and DC doing for phase-in times?
Well, it's a good question. Alexandria, to my recollection, is 18 months. And DC and Maryland or Montgomery County are both around 1 to 2 years.
Okay, so, okay. And I assume all the gas-powered are 2-stroke engines, which are incredibly polluting.
I don't want to say a blanket statement that all of them are, but the vast majority that are out there are 2-stroke engines. Yes.
And for the electric, how long do they run on a charge?
It's a great question, and it depends. And it's not to evade the question, but there are different settings that they have on them, and you can run them at economy mode, you can run them in regular mode, you can run them in turbo mode. You know, if we have a
Turbo.
if you, for instance, have a rainstorm come through and it makes the leaves wet and so forth, maybe you need stronger airflow out of your machine and so forth. And so that turbo mode would allow for that. And that would then drain the battery much greater than in economy mode. So again, it depends.
The 4 things, so regional, if we did something consistent with the rest of the region, all these, it'd be benefit all the small businesses because we'd have the same regs as MoCo and Alexandria.
We would do our best to align with the other jurisdictions to make sure there's continuity in the region. And so that's our goal. If a prohibition is enacted by the county board.
What is the lifespan? Gas powered?
With anything, it depends on how well you maintain it.
Right.
And some of them say they can last up to 10 years. I'd say the average when we were talking to others was 5 to 7 years before they start saying it's time for a replacement. And again, a lot of these machines from the businesses do operate, daily, and they're really churning through as opposed to a person having it in their shed and they break it out every once in a while. Maybe it'll last longer in those regards. So there is kind of a range depending on its application.
Do you be able to speak on the relationship between the time of day that someone is running a gas-powered leaf blower, any kind of tool, and the amount of emissions that it produces? Because to my understanding, there are different points in the day where the sunlight reacts with the pollutants, and it's a greater or a more potent pollutant, just in terms of like ozone and yeah, very limited knowledge on my end, but within this like 3-year kind of rollout of taking these tools out, is there any consideration of kind of maybe putting some restrictions on time of day that we're using the tools?
So the prohibition that we're thinking of is going to be year round and it would be applicable regardless of time of day. So you bring up a great point about, the impacts from a chemical perspective as to whether or not it'd be advantageous to go ahead and just prohibit it at its certain peak times where call it volatilization of the chemicals due to the sunlight hitting the pollutants and so forth. May cause the greatest harm. But I think what's being considered currently is the year-round just blanket use of the gas-powered leaf blowers would be prohibited. And so there would be at this point in time consideration to just limit it to certain either times of the year or times of the day. But you're forcing me to go back to my chemistry class. In fact, I got a meteorology degree undergrad, so it quickly took me back to that. And I was like, volatilization of chemicals. Okay.
If you think about it, air quality days might be the way to think about it,
Yes.
red, yellow, orange,
Yeah.
air quality days.
The question is though, could you do that through the vehicle that the county is choosing to do that through, which is in the noise ordinance?
That's a great question. That would involve our county attorney's office as to what we here in our wonderful Bill estate has the ability to go ahead and do, because it would be regarding noise that we're talking about, and it wouldn't be focusing on pollution or the environment the way we're unable to go ahead and make these changes right now. It's not to say that on to the future that may change. There may be future legislation that would allow us to take into account environmental issues more so, or in addition to noise. But at this point in time, it is noise focused that we're doing.
Can you remind me, when the county staff began its transition, how long, is it completed now? Yeah,
I believe it is completed, yes.
for the leaf blowers, but it's also going on for the mowers and other equipment, and I think even vehicles. Maybe you're switching to electric.
Right, so it's, to my knowledge, is leaf blowers and trimmers have been transitioned over.
And how long did that take, roughly?
It's a great question. I don't, depends on kind of when you say it started, because I know the initiative started back in the early 20s. I'd have to double check and get back to you on the actual timing of all that.
Okay,
And another thing to think about is that with lawnmowers, the previous commenter had mentioned, the technology is ripe now for this to happen. Whereas maybe 5-10 years ago, it would not have been. And so with lawnmowers, particularly for riding lawnmowers that we use in the county and in county staff, the technology just is not there in terms of your battery power that you need, the runtime and so forth, enable us to go ahead and to make the changes over to.
They're also very, very expensive.
And,
Yeah.
right, and so it can be very expensive. I do have, Ms. Fioretti did let me know that it did take 3.5 years to transition all the handheld landscape equipment, and so she did start in 2021. So
okay.
I did have that in my brain correctly, and appreciate that, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
Thank you for this presentation. I'm curious what you know about how enforcement occurs. Is it in the case of a property that's a leaf blower is being used on? Is it the homeowner that is liable for the penalty or whatever sort? Or is it the person operating the machine?
Fantastic question, and not to kick the can down the road, but we're doing this sort of in a sequential fashion. We first want to go ahead and figure out whether the county board wants us to go ahead and to do this prohibition. And then at that point in time, then we would move into talking at greater lengths with county attorney's office, our enforcement staff, and so on and so forth to try to figure out answers to those questions and more. It can become rather complicated, and we want to make sure we get it right.
So today, if I hire somebody and he comes to my house after sun goes down, is it something that the police actually enforce? If the violates the noise ordinance, is it a code enforcement or is it a police action?
I am not an enforcement
Anybody?
expert.
I mean, usually after hours noise issues get routed to the police on a non-emergency basis. That's my understanding.
But I think that there is and Jen's going to chime in a second here, because she had this question as well. But there is, I think, a relationship working together between police and our enforcement staff, county staff, to go ahead and address these sorts of issues. So noise issues are not limited to leaf blowers. There's noise issues with bars, outdoor music, and so on and so forth.
So the third question would be, is it going to be my neighbor who is going to make the call or some other way, right? So you started introducing a whole number early on, maybe this all gets figured out over time, but there's early periods you could say, hey, that's too loud.
Well, that's how it works now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how noise complaints are lodged, right? If someone decides you're too loud at a certain time and they call it in, I can't imagine this would be much different.
I think you're.
So one of the challenges could be, you call it in, let's play out the scenario, you call it in and say, this is happening. And then 10 minutes goes by and then they're done doing their work and they pack up and they leave and then the enforcement people come. And they have to see it happening in order for anything to happen. So you see the challenges that
Do they have to see it or hear it?
iPhone out.
all of their senses.
No, if it only lasted 10 minutes, that would be the shortest landscape session ever.
Use turbo.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I have kind of, oh, Carly.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, I don't know how it's gone with implementing it in like the other jurisdictions nearby, but is there, I feel like the main like burden on like transitioning to electric is put like on businesses. Is there any type of like incentive? Because I saw on the map when it was showing like all the different places like around the country where they've transitioned, some of it wasn't like a ban specifically on gas powered blowers, but it was like an incentive to transition to electric. Is there any like plans or any sort of thing like that?
So is the question, are there plans for incentives?
Yeah, like
for
incentives for
transition?
small business, because I feel like that's like the main burden in like purchasing equipment and like transitioning with their work schedules and stuff like that.
A great question, and the short answer is maybe. That's not the first time that we've heard a question about incentives. As we've gone out and, whether it's the feedback form or the pop-ups where we've gone to events, people have come up and asked the same question. So we're going to be rolling that up into the analysis, as well as doing our due diligence with other jurisdictions to see what they have done, the examples that you brought up and others. And we'll put that together in a package for consideration for the county board. We are in challenging economic times, as our county budget being laid out there in the coming months will likely show. And so trying to find the money for those sorts of incentives for that sort of transition, it's always a challenge to try and find that money.
If there's any.
Do we have anybody online that wants to make a comment? Okay, so my kind of wrap up comment, Rich, thank you so much for coming and doing this. So you've got this feedback form and it's out until tomorrow. Are you looking, when is this going to be presented to the county board and when do you want, or if you want a letter from the PRC? If the PRC decided to write a letter, what would be the right timing for them?
Let's see, we are at the end of October. With the feedback form closing, I can tell you that the latest that I saw was around 3,500 individuals have chimed in on this through the feedback form. So we have to.
That's pretty good.
We have to make it is a healthy dose, I will say, of comments. People are very interested in this topic. And so with an engaged community like this, we want to make sure that we do the proper amount of analysis and put that together. Package it as we head into November and December. Obviously, there are holidays that are going to be challenging. So before the end of the year, the plan is to go and provide the information to the county manager's office, figure out what the next steps are, and decide if the next step is to go to the county board. But I believe that there's a desire to get all of this done by the end of the year. In terms of getting that off to them. So
Okay.
the short answer is if there is an interest in getting a letter in on this, I would,
Sooner than later.
yes, I would say so.
All right, then I'm gonna throw the discussion back to the commission. I think we, at a minimum, we have I would like to take a sense of the commission. It seems to me that everybody is in favor of this type of a proposal. Is that an incorrect sense? So that's a correct sense or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct sense.
Correct.
I think the theorem that parks are much nicer without a leaf blowing in them.
Okay. Okay, so we have a sense of the commission that we are in favor of this.
You said you have 3,500 comments on this. Do you have any idea what the split is in terms of favor versus unfavorable? Just, no?
We have not unpacked it yet.
You will.
That said,
You will.
I have a board that I brought with me to the pop-up events. We gave people stickers. We had 2 questions on the board. It was, do you favor or not favor prohibition? And the second question was the timing, if there's a delay. And I can say that the part that said, do I favor prohibition, was heavily festooned with stickers in comparison to we don't favor it.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting. I mean, I don't like pretending that those type of polls are in any way scientific. People show up to public hearings and not necessarily representative of the general public, but that's, wow, that's pretty interesting result.
Yeah. Getting back to your question regarding a letter and an opportunity for the commission to weigh in, there is now to go ahead and do that. And then there's also the opportunity to weigh in if and when there's an ordinance amendment. Because again, chapter 15 needs to be modified and so forth. So that would be going forward to the county board as a county board report and an amendment to that part of the county code. And so that whole process going to the county board would offer an opportunity for the commission to weigh in with a formal letter.
And we'd have a specific proposal to react to, as it's set up right now, we have a notion of an idea.
Correct.
So.
So I think right now is if you haven't had the opportunity to go ahead and weigh in through the feedback form between now and tomorrow, feel free. It should take all of about 10 minutes or less. We tried to make it as simple as possible.
All right, well, I think for now, I would recommend that we suffice to say that we have a sense of the commission and we support this idea.
Well,
And
the
that we
question
weigh-
isn't so much, I think, whether we support it or not, it's exactly what are we supporting, right? Because the big variance here is what's the delay period? And there are lots of different choices. And I think we need to decide that for the letter.
If we're gonna do a letter.
If
I
we're
was
gonna-
gonna say, well, I would like to discuss.
Yeah.
Should we do a letter now? And should we opine on things such as time of day, phase-in periods, and the length of the phase-in periods, and other items that we have talked
I
about?
generally would be kind of against going as specific as what the period for like faith and trying to opine on that, because even if you could find a consensus on this, which I don't think there would be among us all, I don't necessarily think we have the most expertise on this. And I think there might be others with better expertise regarding phase-in periods and what's effective than the Parks Commission. Perhaps you guys disagree. I didn't think a blanket statement saying we approve of this proposed action would be sufficient.
The only caveat to that is I think doing so in a way that's consistent with the surrounding communities that have already taken would make sense from the small business point of view. And I think we could say that.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue of expertise. This is a county issue where county residents were appointed by the board to provide our opinion on this. We can say we favor 12 months, 18 months, 36 months or not. But I don't see how there's, it's not a matter of expertise. It's a matter of incentive and interest. And if we think that this is a good proposal, then I think we should finish the job of the letter and provide a period in which this should be phased in.
Do you have a period you want to propose for this?
I think that since it sounds like the neighboring jurisdictions have all landed within the 1 to 2 years period, and it's going to take several months for this to get through, I would take the lower end of it and say 18 months, split in the middle between 1 and 2 years.
All right, is there discussion on 18 months? It sounds good to me.
In practice, that means that small businesses and homeowners have close to 2 years. They're already aware of this. They're already part of this process. They're getting calls from the county asking them their opinion and telling them about this. So we're really looking for them at about 2 years,
Okay,
right?
Any
It's gonna
further
take months for
discussion?
us to get through.
Yeah,
Daniel, please go ahead.
I support that measure, but I would like to get a little more information, and it can be after this meeting, just from the county in terms of the enforcement model that they're looking at. That those details would be helpful for me.
So Daniel, great question. At this point in time, we don't have information on the enforcement. We're taking a stepwise, sort of a sequential process. If and when a prohibition is going to be something the county board wants us to follow up as staff to go ahead and do, then we would go ahead and start the process or continue the process. We've already started, but continue that process of discussing potential enforcement measures, how to go about doing this and so forth. So at this point in time, there's nothing for us to present to you or to others in terms of enforcement.
But that doesn't mean we can't say something about what our preferences are on enforcement. Do we have a mode of enforcement that we prefer?
Well, I'm just curious whether like enforcement of this new aspect of the ordinance could pose an issue with the declining budgets for the county just at large. I don't know. I have no idea about the volume that like a new law on this would pose for the county. But having that data would probably be helpful for us to consider just in general. Because I don't know if it makes sense for us to propose a certain increment of time for the county to move if we don't have an idea of how they're actually going to enforce it.
Part of the reason I was thinking phrase it just consistent with the neighboring communities, because that lets the experts drill in and if we're delayed by 6 months, we can then make it a year because that matches MoCo and that kind of thing.
Any further discussion on the time period or the enforcement? Does anybody, I really like Claire's idea about, in general, I have a concern about this whole thing falling under the noise ordinance. I would really like to see more emphasis given to the particulate and the pollution aspects to it. But I don't think, but I certainly have no idea how to do that.
Does the county have pollution enforcement in that to like?
I don't think so.
pollution? Yeah.
We would need legislative changes done in Richmond to enable us to do something, anything beyond noise. So that's where it stands right now.
So you'll talk to us next week.
Yeah, is that in the legislative package?
Well, there is actually an item in the legislative package to entertain that idea. And so that was presented before the county board. Obviously, the county board has the ability to massage and modify the legislative package as it sees fit. So we'll see when they go ahead and present that to the public where that stands.
Oh, it came out a week or so ago. I didn't look at it.
Yeah, it was on the 21st, I believe, or
Yeah,
22nd.
yeah.
Yeah. So it is being considered. It is something that we would like to see the ability to go ahead and do to combine environment and noise as part of this.
Okay, so we could put that in the letter that we support the legislative plan to go after environment.
I do fear that the noise element at the time of day might be just given that using the tools are, you're not supposed to do it during the sunlight hours, so morning and nighttime would be preferable if there's not sunlight. So I fear that there might be,
That's when people are sleeping, yeah.
or like early in the morning.
I guess my only addition is
I don't think too many people who live in neighborhoods where that's prevalent now are going to be too excited about that.
Right.
I guess my only addition is that the discussions they had in other jurisdictions were almost identical to what you were talking about. I'm not giving any opinion as to like when the time should be or what, but you hit the nail on the head of exactly what are the concerns when other jurisdictions have done this.
Sorry, just making a note.
But I agree with you, Jill. Fully.
You brought it up, so yeah. All right, so any other discussion on what might go into a potential letter? So right now I have a few issues that we could put into a letter if we chose to write them. And I'll just summarize what I think those are, that we would want to have a phase-in period of approximately 18 months, but that one that is consistent with that of the surrounding communities. And we would want to not have a overly burdened enforcement costs on the county, and that we support the legislative package that would allow environmental regulation, that would allow this type of thing to be regulated. not only for noise, but also for pollution. Is there anything else we would like to put in the letter?
You know, I feel like the air pollution regulation section is kind of inconsistent with the keeping the enforcement burden as low as we can on the county, because using a different enforcement mechanism than any other jurisdiction that's been banning leaf blowers to do just increases costs on the county. The letter, there's a lot of caveats in the letter is kind of what I'm saying.
It's gonna be a very broad,
Okay,
because we don't have an actual proposal,
okay.
you know, so, and we do have another chance to talk. I mean, rather to present to the board. So, I mean, so getting back to my original question, do you still want to write a letter that says this type of stuff?
No, I was just wondering if it has to be exactly 18 months for implementing it or whatever, because I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a super concrete plan of like what's gonna be done or what's gonna, I mean, I understand that 18 months is like consistent with what surrounding counties have done. I'm just wondering if it's necessary to put like such a specific time frame on it when there's not that many specifics.
Well, we could say something in the range of 18.
In the range.
Yeah, that's, I mean, because we're not reacting to a proposal. We also don't have to do this. We can all go home and write our individual opinions.
I'm.
Oh, it's getting kind of late, so
I'm
let's decide
leaning-
already.
I'm actually leaning towards that. We write our individual opinions. I mean, I think we're all in support of this, but I don't know if something that's very specific in which we're simultaneously being prescriptive around 18 months, but also saying match nearby counties. And then also we're concerned about the noise and the cost of implementing, but we also still want this.
In other words, we acknowledge your struggle.
We acknowledge struggle. I don't know. If we're gonna write a letter, let's say something in it. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Right, but I think that a letter from the Parks and Rec saying this is a good idea, we think you should pursue it, and period.
Yeah, that's it.
Might
That's
be
it.
effective.
And I just wanted to add also to
Yeah.
Rich's point, there will potentially be another opportunity for public comment once this goes forward to the county board. So there could be even a second letter.
Well, there could be a very specific letter
Right.
that we react to the formal proposal, and then we would say, you've said 2 years, we want 18 months, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Also, I like that idea. Broad letter now, and in the future, we can be more specific.
Okay, just 2 sentences. We had this presentation. We agree with it. Go for it. Okay.
Get this marvelous presentation.
Yes.
Blew us away, so.
Yeah.
And once we, if it does go through and the county board does ask for a prohibition and ask county staff to set that all up and tee it all up, you will see me and or Jennifer likely again to go ahead and present on the specifics and to answer some of these questions, whether it be enforcement or otherwise, to try to answer all these questions.
Great. Thank you, Rich, so much. Is there anything else before we let Rich go? Okay, great conversation. All right. So, and it's only 8 o'clock, so I get to keep you with all this other stuff. Yeah. All right. Next is the staff report. Oh, we're only 40 minutes behind.
It's okay. I will be brief. No additional items I wanted to highlight other than new park master planning initiatives that are coming forward. So the first being for Drew Park, which we actually have our first open house tomorrow from 6:30 to 8:30 at Drew Community Center for the master planning of that park. There have been some additional parcels that were acquired over the years, which will be incorporated as part of this new redesign. There was actually a duplex property that was raised, I believe, a few months ago, and that will also be incorporated as part of the park. Everything is together in that one parcel from fronting Kenmore Street and 23rd Street South within the current park boundaries. It'll take into consideration the areas that are currently a spray ground, a playground, various areas of casual use space, and additional or existing tree canopy, as well as a basketball court that exists there today. So please come and join us tomorrow. If you can't, there will also be an online engagement form that will be live for several weeks, and we'll encourage participation not only from the PRC, but from anyone else within the community on that as well.
And Marco's the lead on that.
And I'm the lead on that. That's why I know as much as I do about it as well.
And thank you, Adam, for being here.
Yes.
Thank you, Adam.
And then the second initiative is the 3 urban parks master planning effort. That's at 3550 Wilson Boulevard, just behind the Arlington Arts Center in Virginia Square, Clarendon. It encapsulates Maury Park, Herschel Milliken Park, and Gumball Park. So they'll all be envisioned together with the goal of creating a more cohesive and complementary experience, public space. And there will also be ways in which we can explore a better connectivity amongst those 3 parks and enhance recreation in natural areas that reflect the needs of the community. And for that, there's also a webpage created for that effort. And the first open house is envisioned for November 20th. And that will run from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Arlington. Again, that's the Arlington Arts Center. And November 22nd, there will be a walking tour of the 3 urban parks project, and a time and location for that will be announced at a later time. So once we have more information, I can certainly share that with you on behalf of staff, the commission, or if there's any other information, the project manager for that will be Walter Gonzalez. So I will.
Walter,
I
okay.
can also reach out to him on that.
Is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to highlight?
That's it for me.
Did anybody have any comments? I will say, take a look at the new site plans coming up. There's like half a dozen.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna get hit with those, which is why I wanted to bring up
Really
this.
interesting ones, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I will also note that we have a vacancy on the 3 urban parks.
Yes.
Does anybody want to take that on? Melissa? Yeah, awesome, okay. Does anybody want to back up Melissa?
I will. Alex. Great. Thank you.
Alex, are you on Interject still?
I know, I've never been on Interjag through years.
Did you just go as a substitute one time?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We need another representative for Interject.
I'm happy to.
Want to
do
be
it.
it?
I didn't know there was an Interjag.
There kind of
I
is.
thought that had been basically defunct because the county had
Not
decided
entirely.
not to dedicate staff to it. So now it's more informal.
But we're doing it 4 times a year, at least on Monday night.
Sure, I'm happy to do it. I just
Okay.
didn't realize it was even happening.
Okay, good. Because weren't you on it for a while? I had a report from you on it. But
I was
anyway.
a sub once, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, we're entitled to 3 seats. So, okay. Please make a note that Alex is going to be on Interject for
Already
now.
did. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that, Alex. And thank you for doing the 3 urban parks.
Yep.
Um,
I think, Mary, you had an update on River House there.
Well, I just, I think I talked about River House once. This goes to our consideration of community benefit. I don't know if I want to maybe hold off on talking about it until we've had a chance to go over the new checklist.
Great.
So, but just to mention what it was about, let it go. The River House project is going to result in somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 being added to that neighborhood. And the construction will take out a playground that's on the River House property, tennis courts that are on the property, as well as a dog park that's on the property. So I have some serious concerns about the impact removing those recreational opportunities and the very large influx of residents for that community on Virginia Highlands Park, which is not scheduled to have any substantial money put into it for several years. So anyway, but I think maybe we can cut back to that at some point for a meeting to run it through checklist factors.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Dave, for attending the pedestrian advisory committee. Is that easy?
Yeah, that was very interesting, really. And the key issue was what's the role of the advisory committee? It's a little different than a commission.
Okay.
It's advising to the county manager as opposed to the board.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a little different. So they have a different relationship, if you will, with the staff. And both the light committee and pedestrian committee, I guess they're very closely aligned on many things. And but the bike committee in particular wanted a little bit more engagement on roadway design projects.
Oh, is that Jillian?
Was at one point, I don't know what it is.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think they each have a representative on the Public Spaces Master Plan Implementation Advisory Committee. Oh my God, I said it right the whole time. Yeah, I think so. That's interesting.
So the county staff was like, you just comment during the regular period, like all the engagement processes that we've heard about, as opposed to engaging with these groups, prior to releasing something to the public. And so I think the committees were, again, I was the first time I've been there, so, but the committees were like looking for a little bit more. So that's an interesting conversation. It's not directly relevant to us, but it's
Well, maybe they could have more by virtue of your participation on it.
and others.
Okay. Okay, thank you for doing that. Let's see. And then Alex, you had a lot to say on the, going to that meeting. Is there anything you want to highlight?
Just that heard the same presentation as we heard tonight, just from a different staff member.
Are they writing a letter?
They are.
Okay.
The Arlington Tree Action Group,
Who are they?
They are a citizens advocacy group. They are very concerned about the tree canopy in the county and the county's ability to meet its goal of 40%. It is the leadership's view that we are not really pressing ahead on that, and that the low residential study that was started, I think that outreach just started maybe in the last month, is focusing on the wrong problem. They're taking the impervious surfaces approach to this, and they're ignoring the zoning aspect of this, and that they're taking the wrong approach.
interesting. So leadership of the ATAG
Yes.
had that view. Perfect.
And several civic associations.
And there were there's a lot of agreement on forestry and natural resources with that view. There's definitely some concurrence that the county has sidestepped maybe some of its earlier assertions that it was going to focus more around the zoning issue, and instead just turned and started to come at this from the impervious surfaces angle.
Thank you.
And they have a website, there's a lot more information.
I think there's a public engagement that's going on that as well.
On the low residential study.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yes, it started a few weeks ago. They had a poorly attended one at Lobo Run maybe a week or two ago that I totally forgot about.
I think there's another one tomorrow night. All right, we don't have to take that up though. All right, unless you want to. Does anybody want to?
Oh, look at me.
Okay, I have two things I want to talk about under other business. Oh, let me do the one we wrote down. I have two things we didn't write down. The one is the succession plan. I'm going off the commission in the middle of 2026. We had one expression of interest from a very good candidate to take over that position. I don't want to mention the name yet, but it's a good candidate. I think you'll like it. Gary is vice chair now, but he doesn't want to continue. He doesn't want to go up the ladder.
I've seen enough to know.
So we checked with the county clerk as to how to manage all this stuff. So the proposal and I think that unless you have a serious objection, the plan would be that, as of January 1, I would be reappointed as chair. The candidate that I'm not talking about would be appointed as vice chair. In the middle of the year, I would go off, and in May, before I go off, the candidate would be appointed as chair and Gary would come back on as vice chair for the remainder of that year. That way, this person would be supported by Gary, who has more experience. Then I'll be gone and you guys can do whatever you want. So anyway, we'll finalize that in November. One last tumbler to roll into the right thing. So does anybody object to that?
So what does Marco think?
Yeah. He's all right with it. He told me he was.
Yes.
All right. Now.
I have a question.
Adam, yes. Adam.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't mean to be like untrusting, but that seems a little bit weird that you're not mentioning the name, but yet this person is automatically going to become the chair of the commission.
It's
Shouldn't
not
we-
automatic.
I mean, shouldn't
It's
we
appointed
see?
by the.
Okay, I understand that, but do we elect the chair, or
No.
does the county board decide who the chair is going to be?
The county board appoints the chair and the vice chair. It's not an elected position. And I asked everybody if they wanted to be it, and if you keep talking, you're gonna have to get, put your name down.
Careful.
Okay, no, I wanted to get some clarity on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Jill, did you want to mention a potential letter for the public spaces master plan refresh?
Yes, that was low on my list. Can you remind me that if we still have time?
Sure.
Okay. The two things I want to get to first, though, I made copies. You can pass this around. I want to talk about the SPRC process for Port Carly with all these acronyms: site planning review SPRC. So what that does is it's a group that's convened by the county. Well, it's actually convened by the planning commission. And it's a group from representatives of civic associations and other commissions, including ours and like traffic commission, pedestrian advisory, and whoever else. So it's an extensive process. And normally there are at least 2 public meetings, one of which is mostly focused on like public spaces and environmental issues and, I mean, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of issues. They cut them in half and they have 2 meetings. You have to look for the one that has the park stuff.
Yeah, so,
Transportation usually has a big piece of it,
right.
but the building envelope usually has a big chunk of it.
Yeah, typically for the, every project is different, but typically it's spaced out with the 2 SPRC meetings. The first being potentially the land use issues, as you mentioned, building envelope architecture, and other potential transportation related issues. Second meeting could be public space, a continuation of transportation if it warrants that discussion, as well as any discussions on sustainability, energy efficiency impacts, things like that, and site mitigation measures, which could also mean community benefits. So there's some discussion on that as part of that second meeting.
So generally, we try to assign 2 people to each site plan. And we generally, if we have to skip one, we try to make sure we go to the one that has to do with parks. And then there's time pressure often between the second meeting and when you file a letter. And so we had a problem earlier this year where we had some disagreements while we were experiencing the time pressure. So what I'm trying to do is figure out a process that we can use to talk to each other. Oh, then further, we have the constraint that we have to abide by the open public records rules, which means that only two of us can talk at a time unless we have a notice and everything. So, so I sent out a note in the summer and I had a 3-point idea and some people made some comments and it seems a little unworkable. So I'm trying again. And my proposal this time is we take this list, we might want to update this list because this has been a while. And as soon as we get a site plan assignment, we look at the site plan and we answer these questions in writing on, in a document for that particular site plan. And then we circulate it to everybody else to see if anybody else has any concerns or issues that we didn't flag that they want flagged. And then that I think, well, then you would take that with you when you go to the site plan meetings, and you would basically be able to say, this is the sense of our commission. Because what I do now anyway, is a little uncomfortable. I kind of go in there with my own personal opinions. It'd be nicer to be and more, I think, effective to be able to go in and say, this is the sense of our commission. So that's my proposal. Yeah.
So, I do like the idea of greater structure. I'll fully admit that the SPRC meeting I attended, I definitely gave a few of my own opinions. And I understand the need for structure. If we're going to have our commissions filling their roles as like you are a rep of the committee and that is all that you are at these meetings. My issue is that we're doing this and the other commissions aren't.
I don't know. I don't know if it's not. I mean, C2E2 has.
C2E2.
C2E2 has a very structured.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's very good.
Pages.
But I'm thinking there's a lot of commissions that bring reps to those SPRC meetings. And I agree that this would improve efficiency and maybe the efficacy of exactly what we're trying to focus on as a Parks Commission. But would this actually reduce our voice because we would be so constrained relative to people who can on other commissions who don't necessarily have nearly as strict of rules? Again, not saying we shouldn't adopt it. I'm just, I perhaps this is could be part of a broader conversation with all of the commissions to have some form of standardization of process.
We do have an ask out to get more guidance from county staff.
Okay, then that's all I need to
But
hear.
but for now, we've got these 6 barreling down on us.
Okay.
Coming down. So I want to like, so there's some comments, yeah.
So that understanding, so does this mean we shouldn't ask questions outside of these questions?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that
Okay.
at all. No. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
question.
that's kind of the, yeah.
I like the. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
I wouldn't want that. I don't think you would either.
because I do like guideline, I think especially for newer members who've never been to these events, it's kind of.
Yeah.
They might get spoken over by other groups that tend to be much louder in these things, so I think it's good to have a structure to start with. But I think sometimes a situation arises uniquely in a site.
Yeah.
That- Yeah, so.
And some of these points are going to be more relevant to some sites than others.
Exactly. Some won't even apply at all.
Yeah, and honestly, some of these I can see easily where we'd ask this question and we would not get an answer because the developer doesn't have it.
Well, there's 2 phases to it, right? There's looking at what they give us to see if we can answer the questions, like before the first meeting, there's a proposal. So you should be able to answer some of the questions.
I agree with some, yeah.
But then some of them, you could have an answer that says, I don't know, I'm going to ask them, whatever, or something.
I agree with the general thrust here, but I am a little concerned because I've been to some of these meetings myself, and often there's a kind of a scrap to get your voice heard when you're coming from one of the 3 environmental commissions. Planning, transportation to dominate it. they tend to set a lot of moves, sometimes more. And so you are clearly outnumbered, and so you have to real fight for that. And I'm having a hard time, even if you knock out 50% of this by doing some extra research at the beginning, which I question some of these plans. They give you enough information to do that.
Yeah.
How can you get all these questions answered?
If you're lucky, you speak twice.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can do a page and a half of questions when we speak twice.
It's just not going to happen. And so I
But a lot of material is in their presentations and their
Mhm.
it is, but
application.
but they often, I mean, things like tree canopy, where they know staff is going to be on them asking about that. They do a good job usually of breaking those out, but there are a lot of these other smaller matters that they generally don't break that stuff out. And
Well, if it's, then you have to prioritize. If it's a priority for us, then use those 2 slots to ask that question. If it's not a priority, you ask staff or,
Yeah, you can always ask staff.
Oh, no, I just was wondering if it'd be possible to create a Google Drive and have all of these exist in there so that someone can go, the lead on the site can go and answer as many as possible, and then maybe like flag a couple of things that they are concerned about or want to bring up to the entire commission. That way everyone has access to the drive and can go in and look at it and potentially put their own comments in as well.
If somebody other than me is willing to do it.
I can set it up.
You can? Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, I'm not good at that at all. I'm really suck at it.
Oh, no, I can do it.
Melissa, and then,
because I definitely don't think there would be time, as we've established, to get all these things. It's just impossible. Are there, maybe we can, or again, the board, you or the commission, maybe highlight 1 or 2 that should be determined, like priority ones, maybe we just highlight that to make it seem a little more feasible.
I don't know. I mean, I just think the different projects have different priorities, and then I'm thinking about stuff outside the box. Like more than one time, I've raised the issue of suggesting that the owner contact VDOT to get invasive plant treatment on adjacent property, because if they don't, it's going to get invasive plants all over their property, and they do have some kind of fall. And that's not, that's outside the box, but I did it. So I don't know if anything actually happened with it. I don't think it ever did.
So I have an issue with a few of these points, though. For example, one of our questions is, does this project include electric-only appliances? We are the Parks Commission. We're not the global warming or climate change action group in this, so I don't really think that should be our focus. I mean, yes, climate change affects us all, but there's an explicit group that's focused on climate change.
And they
we-
do a good job.
Yeah,
So-
I would actually agree. E is going to be something that C2 is going to be focused on,
Mhm.
and that is in fact their job.
And is this project accessible by bus, metro, or public transit? There's an entire commission for that one. We can strike that one. I mean, this needs some pared down.
I mean, there will be projects where, like, I've been on a few that have been right along major bike routes, all right, or the Parks and Recreations Commission, making sure those connections are there, that make sense to the bike routes, that those are recreation routes,
Yeah.
should be hammering away at that.
I really want to emphasize what you're saying. I
Yeah.
learned at the Public Spaces Master Plan Implementation Advisory that all the bicycle throughways, no matter if they're on trails, no matter if they're on, by the side of the road, they are considered public space. So considering that we're the chair people of the Public Spaces Master Plan Implementation Advisory Committee, I think that is definitely in our purview.
So the impact in relationship with adjacent public space.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is going to be, you're just going to have to, I mean, this is a really good structure, right? But this is going to depend on the site that you're dealing with. If it's a highly urban site, there's just some of the stuff that's just not going to be a high priority because you're just not going to be able to stuff that much on. And
All right.
you'll be prioritizing other parts of it.
But what about the issue of giving our own opinion versus giving the commission opinion? How do we do?
I was about to comment on that, for example, I don't know if it's directly applicable, but I'm always anti-parking minimums, maybe that's my hot take.
Yeah.
So I think, does that relate to our work? Because in theory, yes, the more parking lot there is, the less public space there could be, or more units, but it's not my business. But I think, if I brought that up in a meeting, would that be kosher or not?
I mean, I've done that myself.
Yeah.
Because there was a project on a bus line. It would be perfect for, people with disabilities who wouldn't need cars anyway, or wouldn't be able to use cars anyway, so you could do away with parking spots, but, us saying it, it's not in our purview, so.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I think that's absolutely appropriate. Look, the county didn't appoint robots to do this. We're not sending them this draft in advance. It will answer these questions so that everyone can see it. You are the person who was there. You are the one asking the questions. So if you think this is really relevant to this project, you should have at it.
Well, I mean, do you think that if you have an issue that you're gonna have at it that's not on the list, do you think it should be shopped to everybody else on this commission before it's announced?
Well, the timing of that is going to work. I mean, if we can't communicate with each other except one-on-one.
Not let me email
How
my
are we going to
friend.
shop?
So maybe we should wait till there's a bit more guidance by county staff as
I
to.
don't think we're gonna
Part.
Oh,
get
okay.
what the guidance we're gonna get is, you have to follow open public records rules. Here's what we expect. I don't think it's gonna answer this question.
And when I saw this, I thought, oh, this is great rubric. When I'm looking at a plan, I'm just gonna ask these questions.
And that's what it was
Question.
drafted for.
And then when you say, okay, you're representing, and, a smart person like Claire goes and she knows after going through the list, oh, I'm going to really focus on these two. And she's going to be able to react to the discussion, what other people think, because we're going to have to think our feet. In a sense, you're just saying, okay, like the British theory, you represent the Commonwealth. You need to do your homework and then think on your feet and put the best two comments forward.
But we don't want to get in a situation where we have, somebody's put their comments forward, but the rest of us don't agree with what they said. And then it's time to write the letter and the person who's been to all the meetings, has a contrary view. I mean, it's not happened like that, but I mean, it could.
So I guess the question is there an approved view that we stick with the party line, so to speak? Is that what
That's what I'm trying to get to.
okay.
I'm just trying to get to where I want to avoid a situation where we're under time pressure to write a letter and we can't talk to each other except here. And, we have something that is unexpectedly.
I think unless you're willing to put people in a straitjacket, which I really be against, I think you're just going to have trust that the people who are on the commission who are volunteering to go to these endless meetings sometimes are doing it in good faith, and they're going to put a good faith effort to write a relevant, appropriate letter. Sometimes it's not going to happen. It's going to be annoying. We'll get over it.
Well, I also think that there's generally like public time to share your own thoughts and public comment in these things. And then there's time that we're granted as the commission to be able to speak, for longer periods or at any point. And so I've found people will generally, if they have something that really deviates from the scope of their commission, will announce that during the public comment period and then talk about it there. And so that's how I've seen that
Oh, okay. I haven't seen
come up.
that. That's interesting. Yeah. Carly?
Oh, I was just kind of confused. I want some clarification on how the public records thing works. Is it just like any online communication that can only be between two people? Like anything online, or is it just emails?
So it could be emails, anything online,
Phone calls.
phone calls,
You have conference
even
calls.
if you have in-person communication. So let's say if you're meeting with another person about PRC related business, that's fine if it's just up to two people. But once you introduce that third person, it becomes a public meeting.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering, because you guys were talking about putting this all in a Google Doc and like everybody could comment on it. Wouldn't that be like a violation?
Good question. Very good question. So
That's right.
I was
That's why we
thinking,
need to
I
do
was
it.
thinking about that as well, and that's what, that's why I was raising my hand. Is I think we may, we may need to rethink that strategy, but
Okay.
also I may also need to communicate with the board office to see what we can do in terms of like shared documents or shared, like ways in which the commission can share ideas in this type of, I guess, communication potentially. I don't know if we would be able to create something internally for the commission to use.
Yeah, I recall now, we talked about doing this to coordinate with the forestry.
Right.
Commissions. And then we decided Andrew,
Yeah, I don't know if the status quo is necessarily, as it exists, is currently unworkable. I don't. In some ways, this kind of strengthens the power of the, I wouldn't say necessarily the chair's view, but also just generally it's very, I don't like, the word, use the word straitjacket. I feel that this creates a lot of tightening of what we can say at those meetings in a way that I don't think is a major problem. I think I'm probably the only problem child here, to be blunt.
for admitting that.
And while there is occasionally disagreement, I don't necessarily think the disagreement is very bad, and I don't think it's really undermined park objectives. So if it hasn't really undermined park objectives, is this really necessary? Maybe we could do some form of like guide for newcomers and with just like examples of what you can ask, but I don't know if the process that we of us doing a back and forth in which we draft a letter in advance of the meeting, maybe we don't do that, but maybe we have a bit more training for people who've not done the SPRC before. Because I'll admit, my first time I was at the SPRC, I didn't have as much of an understanding as to what exactly my role there was. So I maybe some form of better training for the first time.
That is what we have on ask. We have an ask for that.
Another thing too, and I think we mentioned this during the beginning part of this discussion. If there is a new project that you have been, or that you volunteered for, but you need more information on the background, logistics, things like that, you know, there are staff members, both from CPHD and from DPR, that are tracking these efforts. So if you have any questions related to any public space related initiatives or considerations, please feel free to contact us, because then maybe we can provide that discussion for you and provide that background, so that way you can be better prepared as you start thinking about questions to ask at the SPRC.
And Dave Early and I did that with Walter,
Mhm.
and it was very successful, interaction. So.
I mean, some of the side, Andrew just highlighted this, is that, look, there's, the reason why there's confusion is because we don't just, there are at least two approaches here, and they're both germane, and we should be trying to do both. One is gather information for the commission in order to take a position. The other one is advocate, right? They're not necessarily the same thing.
Well,
And with a limited amount of time, and we know there's a limited amount of time on these things. And a lot of other people are happy to take yours if you don't advocate for it. Sometimes you've got to choose. And so you're going to just pick one angle that you think is particularly relevant to this project. And you're not going to focus on some of the rest of it. You can ask, send an email and ask to have some of these other questions answered if they don't provide it, but you're just going to have to trust that the person who is volunteering to take this on is going to do a good job. And there is no way to, without contorting what people should have the right to do, to get away from that.
No strange.
If you want to have volunteers, you got to let them volunteer.
Any other?
But the thing that I found interesting is the SPRC is not a vote. It is a information gathering process. It's not a decision-making process.
That's true.
So you can ask all kinds of questions. You could ask.
And they can be answered or not.
They can answer within the 2 hours. Now they manage time. We're meeting, two of them, but so you can. It's a process more than it is decision-making effort?
Well, what is supposed to happen is the staff report that goes to the county board is supposed to include
It takes
PRC
the findings.
position or whatever.
Well, yeah.
You know,
what
you're
was
supposed to say, PRC said blah, blah, blah.
PRC? Oh, PRC, not SPRC. Like the SPRC doesn't,
No, the SPRC, the staff writes a report. that
it
goes-
says this commission said that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the SPRC is a presentation and they get feedback during the presentation. They
Right.
ask questions. And it informs both the staff eventual recommendation to the board
And the planning commission.
and then the planning commission, right? So the planning commission, I think the transportation actually votes, planning commission votes.
So
Yeah,
they,
those two votes,
so
they can.
they're advisory and they can provide a recommendation to the county
Recommendation.
board, who then eventually votes on
Thank you.
the item.
But their recommendation is one that's voted.
That's
In
correct,
their
but
commission.
they don't take a
But
final action on
no.
like a site plan, for
They
example.
don't have.
They're empowered.
Sorry, yes, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
So the effort of the SPRC in the kind of the 2 hours for each of these two meetings, I think there's a lot of flexibility into what can happen in that period of time. To do a PRC position, we may need to have more information or, greater
Look,
specifics.
I think the answer is before the first meeting, you take this rubric, it's useful as a checklist, and go through the published materials and see how much of it you can answer off of what they've already produced, so you're not wasting your time doing this. And then you're just kind of reading the room. At least that's what I do. I mean, you can tell, like, what am I just going to be banging my head against the wall, and what is there actual interest in,
there any
and where we can get some consensus to really push the developer to take this view or no.
well, I really agree with you, but I would add, after you've read the rubric and matched it to what the published materials are, call up the staff through Marco, they'll arrange a meeting and go over, and then that's a good gut check. Like, okay, because they're gonna know a lot more than you. They've been living with it for a while. So, all right. Well, I'll
Do the
say,
walking tour if you can too.
Yeah.
those are-
Another opportunity to meet the various staff. Walter was on the one that I was at. The park. So.
all right. With drama. Thank you for discussing it. I think it was a very good discussion.
Look, I think it's a great starting point. It's a great starting
But I do think the idea of bringing a preliminary, identification of the issues. Take Walgreens, for instance, you went to the meeting, it's got a couple of key issues. You mentioned one on River House, key issue, the impact on the park. Being able to have that in front of the committee before that time pressure, I think would be useful.
Well, and we could expand our use of the time in the agenda for commissioner reports. A lot of times we don't even say anything when we have a site plan, but maybe we could start having a practice of whoever's got an active site plan, just say a few words
There's your 2 or 3 issues. Yeah.
about what's going on.
So we can't have a shared Google Drive even if everyone has access to the drive.
I'm
Because the whole public.
The public has to have access.
I am going to confirm that. So Claire, just stand by on that one. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah.
Because we rejected it another time.
Yeah.
I forgot. So Carl, if you're bored, you have to, it'll be more interesting once you get the one of these. Okay, the other thing, Dave?
Sorry.
I would like to bring up is follow on from Dave about really good information about a follow on the basic plant removal proposal and the use of capital funding. And some ideas that Dave has that we're not allowed to talk about in a group. So we got to talk about it in front of everybody. And hopefully there'll be some good feedback. Gary and I and Alex, if you're available, are planning to go to the Enerjag meeting on Monday and bring this up to them.
It's on Monday?
It's on Monday.
Okay, that was useful information.
So Dave, do you want to
Sure.
summarize?
So, yeah, last month, we were talking about potential of, and the need for more funding for invasive species management and restoration and so forth. And we asked the question, can those activities, what part of those activities can be funded in the capital plan? So I went back to the capital plan and discovered that there actually is a natural resiliency program in the plan that was initiated in 2023, fiscal year 2023, funded for a total of 8.5 million, 2 million in 2024, 3.5 in 2026, and $1 million thereafter every other year. That was the 2023 level. And it is specifically for projects that include forest restoration, stream improvements, large-scale invasive removal projects, large-scale native plantings, and implementing biophilic principles.
That's a quote.
Yeah, that's the definition of this program. And again, in the 2023 capital plan, they had identified critical milestones in 2024 to design plans for restoration and removal of invasive plants and then install such projects in 2024. And in 2026, their priority was going to be on a flood resilient project, right? So that's when they're using parkland or some other property to act also as overland relief for flooding, okay? And the 2025 cycle that just happened 6 months ago, they looked at the progress in that plan and they reduced the funding by $3 million. 2024, let me correct that statement. They took 2024. So they reduced the funding a little bit. They reduced the funding in 2026 by $2 million from 3.5 down to 1.5. And the comment being that they haven't been doing enough. We haven't been going fast enough, so we're going to take some of that money away from the program. So there's a couple of things that come to mind. One, this was not mentioned in some of the presentations that have been given recently on invasive management to the Forestry Commission. That wasn't mentioned at all. They therefore wrote a letter requesting another $100,000 in the operating budget, but there's no mention of this. $2 million was reduced for 2026, and we really didn't comment on that. So that was
I think we said in our letter
on this.
and the follow-up capital budget.
Okay, well, good. Well, that's great. So I didn't remember that, but that's okay. So
Anyway.
yeah. Well, yeah. So this happened this year. So the $2 million reduction happened in.
So David.
Are you talking about the operating budget or the capital?
Capital budget. Capital budget was revised in 2025. So 2026 number went from 3.5 down to 1.5.
But it was approved in 2024 with that reduction. And that's when we wrote our letter. But anyway, keep going. But
it says right here, reduced 2025, 26, reduced FY 2026 request from 3.5 to 1.5.
So my question is, so what are they spending this money on? What have they spent it on in the past? Are we talking about
we have
big slugs in the stream restoration projects and that's where the money is gone, or where has the money gone?
There needs to be, those questions need to be asked and answered.
we got answers to that. Mark.
Oh, great.
But anyway, keep going.
No, that's it. The question is, right, how to get greater transparency on it?
Yeah.
And how, what's the plan for the future? How do we take advantage of this resource to implement what they call large scale invasive plant removal projects? Because that's significantly larger than the $100,000 contractor money that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that takes some staff time to plan out. And it sounds like there hasn't been, I don't know what they've been spending it on, but it doesn't sound like they've been spending as much on it as they thought they did.
Yeah, a new program, that's understandable. A new program, you haven't ramped it up yet, but we don't want it to languish. We want it to actually ramp
We
up.
want it to work. Yeah. And so you had some other suggestions about adjusting the headings and.
Well, I think
the major point is it seems like that, if we could reorganize the funding and put it more of an emphasis on invasive plant removal, that it's really not asking for an increase, if you will. It's asking for, a new focus.
Well, again, my question is, what have they been spending money?
I think it's like stream restoration. I should have.
Yeah.
Do you have that, Gary? Eric?
Design a low water forward and stream repair
Yeah,
at Park Rock Park. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is within the
Ten
master
contract
plan,
plus one.
park master plans area. The second idea would be to say, hey, this is a major strategy for the county. We better, part of the climate action plan, part of the national resources plan, elevate this natural resiliency program to the same level as trail maintenance and some of the other programs. I think there's 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah,
And then line out what you're doing for flood control and invasive plant removal and the rest, kind of just a subcategory so we can see it.
Well, I guess
but
my-
it's not anything that's been, the invasive plant removal that Gary and I, are familiar with is rooted in the operating budget and, under the office that Jen Souls works in and Sue Kim and those development people. And yet it seems like there's this capital funding that could actually be deployed.
Well, that goes to my point. That is, this program that you've identified seems to be dedicated towards substantial county projects, either ones that are being realized or ones that they thought might be realized, using the words large scale forest protection. And those haven't been realized so much. And what we're talking about is operating funds, which are needed, but it's a little different than big projects.
Well, I really want to advocate for a trending position that is not necessarily widely in use yet. But we did we did scale the mountain or the hill of getting capital funding for, natural resiliency projects, which is kind of a big deal, So I'd like to scale the next little mound and get some of that funding to capital funding. And I'm really, I'm kind of religious about this, that I do believe that it has to do with maintaining a capital asset that provides all kinds of capital benefits to the community. And it's appropriate to put some capital funding into that effort, not entirely. Angela?
Yeah, I get the feeling, and correct me if I'm wrong, that what Dave found, it's very park specific. It's individual project specific. For example, if there's a big refresh of a single park and we're cleaning out the trash from a stream, we're also regrading part of the stream, and we're also clearing out the invasive species from the stream, then we use that capital fund. So this is a little different from just hiring a certain number of people so they can handle a bunch of invasive species throughout the county so they can make a big dent against invasive species broadly. This is specific to individual parks, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds like a reasonable interpretation of what we know.
Oh,
I think we
don't
need to
know. Okay.
figure out what they're actually.
But of course, county staff does actually direct these contractors to individual parks and tells them what to focus on to do. So it's not like we're just throwing money at county contracts. Here's Arlington Parks, let us know how you do. We're directing, staff is saying, we want you to go to Park A, B, and C and
Yeah,
clear these areas.
question of prioritizing.
Well,
And Marco found the
it's
list.
different from like having just an ongoing like removal of invasive species budget. This is about individual initiatives, a project. It's project specific, which is makes sense. Capital plan.
Yeah, Marco found the list that
So
Eric
yes,
Beach gave, so I'm just gonna read it out.
So yeah, it's a little
Sorry,
over
go ahead.
total spent allocated to date, and this is from September, a little over $1.06 million on various projects. So the first being Barcroft replacement and stream bank naturalization, meadow conversion, forest conversion, meadow and forest conversion 3, forest conversion, trail and bridge stabilization, and staff time associated with those projects. So,
And then some of them give the acreage it's involved.
right,
Like the one for the meadow is 0.75 acres for $40,000. So, you know, that's similar in scale to what park stewards do. I mean, park stewards manage up to like, I don't know what you have what do you have in Jamestown? Like an acre?
Full, it's 10 acres.
You have 10 acres.
Yeah.
So. Something. Anyway. So anyway, all right, well, this is helpful. So we're gonna, you know, I think the sense of the commission is we're gonna push on this at the Enerjag and try to get Forestry Commission and the C2E2 input to see if how we can make our proposal as strong as possible before we write to the board about it. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
Okay. Can you send that email to everybody?
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about this.
Okay, and then finally, the Public Space Master Plan, Invitation Advisory Committee, why is that name so damn long? So we had a meeting and it was well attended, the public came, I was the chair, Gary was there in his leg brace, thank you, Gary, Hamilton was there, Dave came, a lot of you came. And so it's the refresh. And there's just a limited number of topics that are being refreshed. It's not an entire revamping of the public space master plan. The question I have is, you guys want to think about writing a letter in support or giving comments about what the public spaces master plan should have in it? I got a very long, I would call it like well, it was 4 pages long from a commissioner in another commission who was writing on his own behalf about things, even philosophical things about what a public spaces master plan should do, how the refresh should go, and things like that. Until I got that, I really didn't have the impulse to write something similar. But once I got that, I thought, well, I should ask you guys if you have anything about the public spaces master plan that you think deserves a letter at this point, or should we just wait and see what the public comments reveal? And we have a specific proposal from. I can, you know what I'll do? I'll send around that letter, and you guys can think about it, and I'll think about it too myself, actually. So, okay, so we can put that on the agenda for next month. Okay, are we at the end of the meeting?
the video.
Oh, the video!
Yeah.
There's a cool video that Dave early found, actually, the DPR. But last year, or it was 2 meetings ago, I announced
Oh,
that.
Adam.
Oh, Adam, you have your hand up.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that I think we should wait until we have till we get the to see what some of the comments and survey results come through before we start making any
Okay, that
commenting on
sounds
it.
good. Thank you for that. Last 2 meetings ago, I announced that the Department of Parks and Recreation won a national award. And as part of doing the application, they made a video about our parks. And it's really good, and you should show it to all your friends, actually see.
And I'm going to attempt to share it here and see if it works for the group. So we can watch it together.
Thank you to Dave for actually going to the DPR website. Fine.
And this. All right, here we go.
Welcome to Arlington, Virginia. 26 square miles of bold ideas, big spirit, and a whole lot of heart. Home to over 240,000 residents, we're a small but mighty urban county, proud of the places and spaces that allow us to connect, explore, and thrive. At the Department of Parks and Recreation, we like to think we have something to do with that. Just across the river from Washington, D.C., Arlington is where city life meets outdoor adventure. From spray grounds to sports leagues, festivals to fitness. We don't just build parks, we build community. Whether it's biking to work, meeting friends at a fitness class, or walking to the playground down the street, recreation is woven into who we are. It's why 99% of our residents can walk to a park in under 10 minutes, and why we're consistently ranked top 10 in the nation. We're here to play, and we're proud to be Arlington's playground for everyone, everywhere, every day. It all starts with showing up for everyone in our community. Equitable access is at the heart of our service and built into our long-range strategic plans.
Emma, we love Arlington Rec, don't we? In fact, we love Arlington because TR includes everyone. No matter how old you are, how young you are, what your physical capabilities are.
For us, access for all means meeting people where they are. In 2023, we took fee reduction outreach efforts on the road, hosting 24 pop-up events across Arlington. And it worked. More than 3,000 residents each saved an average of $518 on DPR programs. Because when everyone has the chance to take part, our whole community is stronger. Every space we create begins with the people who bring life to Arlington. Last year, more than 7,000 community members helped shape 25 projects across the county. Take Gateway Park, for example. We wrapped up the 2024 master planning process by engaging with over 1,600 residents. The result, a shared vision brought to life and shaped by the people it serves. Our parks and facilities are funded through Arlington County's 10-year capital improvement plan and guided by our department's capital equity investment framework. We focus on the areas with the greatest opportunity for impact, looking at factors like income, diversity, and the needs of families and kids. Through strong public, private, and community partnerships, we stretch every dollar to keep world-class parks accessible to all. In late 2023, Arlington made a bold move toward a greener future by adopting the Forestry and Natural Resources Plan, a comprehensive roadmap with 83 action steps for building climate resilience, enhancing environmental education, and transforming the way we care for our green spaces.
Defensores de la Cuenca han contactado al Condado de Arlington para hacer trabajo en equipo y poder alcanzar a la comunidad latina. Trabajar con la comunidad ha sido una de las acciones más satisfactorias para mí.
We're restoring habitats, engaging the community, and investing in smarter practices. It's more than policy, it's a promise to the planet and future generations. We live our mission every single day. At Social 60+ cafes, older adults aren't just sharing the thousands of free meals we serve a year, they're finding comfort in community.
እዚህ መጥቼ ከብዙ የዓለም ሰዎች ጋር ያገናኘኛል። ደግሞ አገሬን ያስታውሰኛል። አትክልት እወዳለሁ።
In response to community concerns around teen safety and the opioid crisis, we took action, expanding teen programming to create safe, engaging spaces like our innovative DJ entrepreneurship program.
It's something where they get to express themselves. We're creating their passion. We're meeting them where they're at.
Our facilities aren't defined by buildings. They're defined by the people who bring them to life. From front desks to forests, it's the hundreds of dedicated staff who create meaningful moments for the thousands of participants they serve. Because they don't just love what they do, they love who they do it for. No matter your age, how long you've called Arlington home, or what brings you joy, we're here to make sure there's always a way to connect, play, and feel like you belong. Arlington Parks and Recreation. Everyone, everywhere, every day.
Sorry, I'm so.
Sums it up.
I was so focused on like, where is that park? Which one is that? So there was like a brick grain silo it looked like for a second.
Oh, yeah, that one's next to in Amazon, in the middle of the Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Campus. Yeah, isn't it like some like monument to the former Black community there or something like that?
Yes, that's the Queen City. Yeah.
Okay, I should have to check that out. That's my knowledge showing that I don't know these.
Good for you, you knew all the rest of them. All right. So, next month, we're gonna have, a speaker. We're gonna have Jane Rudolph here. She's the director of the Parks and Recreation, along with, Jennifer, I can't remember, but she's the director of the Community Foundation. And they're gonna be talking about, alternatives to a Friends of the Park. That will conclude our series on fundraising for the parks, and we'll be writing a letter after that. And then in December, I think.
Jennifer Owens.
Oh, it's Jennifer Owens. Thank you so much. So, and that's pretty much,
And it'll actually be our last virtual only meeting of the year. So it'll be the last time that we'll meet virtually for the year. And then in December, we'll come back as a hybrid meeting and hopefully enjoy some nice snacks by all of you. So we'll see.
Right. Keep up our tradition. Also, our newest members need to be on the lookout to duck if you don't want to do it, but you're probably going to be called on to do the Bill Thomas Award. That usually goes to our newest. So that's a process of awarding a acknowledgement to the outstanding volunteers. Anything else? That's it. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank everyone online too.
Thanks, everybody online.
Remember to vote.
Good night.
Here, thank you. I'm
Early voting still open, right?
Wedding, oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you'd arrived 20 minutes early, you could have done it in the same